this Sunday special edition of Stand on Guard. I'm your host, David Krayden. So glad you could join me. And we're going to be talking about a very important event that happens every year about this time. And we'll be back momentarily to discuss it.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist.
Yes, as Sasha, my cat, demonstrates, please ring that bell. It does help us to beat the algorithm and Trudeau's censorship. And if you like us, it helps us to build the audience. That also helps us get around that YouTube algorithm. But believe me, this all helps. I know there's some people out there saying it doesn't matter. You can ring the bell and all you need to do is subscribe. But it does help to like and ring the bell. And if you do that, you're helping this broadcast. We're way over 15,000. We're headed towards 20,000. Hopefully in another month or so. We are going as far as we can because I think this station is important. So thanks for supporting it, and have a look to make sure you have subscribed, because YouTube has a habit of unsubscribing people. I've heard this from other folks who are doing the same thing. So please subscribe if you haven't, and just make sure you are subscribed, because that drives the numbers. The more subscribers, the bigger the audience, and the more YouTube is forced to acknowledge the importance, the validity of the station. So we thank you for your support. So what are we talking about today? Well, it's Sunday. What's happening? Everybody's gathering in Davos, Switzerland right now. And what happens in Davos, Switzerland this time of year? Great time of year, eh? January. People tend to ignore things right after the new year. This is when the World Economic Forum gets together and decides to talk crap. They do it every year. And I don't know how many members of our Canadian Trudeau government are going to be visiting, but I do know there's some very important items on the agenda, including a plan for the World Health Organization to take over your rights by declaring a health emergency. Is this being engineered by the World Economic Forum, by the WEF? Of course they're in cahoots. Of course they're colluding on this, just like they did over the COVID-19 pandemic. They were using like forces, like minds, and like ideology to use the crisis. Let's remember what Justin Trudeau said during the COVID pandemic.
Believes that a strong, coordinated response across the world and across sectors is essential. This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems that actually address global challenges like extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change.
He said it. Didn't say great reset, but he said reset. And I'm sure we could find evidence of Trudeau saying great reset in other places. Certainly, the chairman of the board of the WEF, Klaus Schwab, the founder and chairman, uses that phrase all the time. And if you think I'm making this up, and I know my audience doesn't, but if there's people tuning in today, we say, come on, Krayden, this is conspiracy theory talk. This can't be happening. There's no collusion going on. The World Economic Forum is just a bunch of academics who are trying to do their best to make the future better for all of us. Well, go to their website. Go to their website, www.wef, and you will discover that everything that the opponents of the WEF are saying about them is on their own website. They talk about a great reset. They talk about eating insects. They talk about 15-minute cities. They talk about how globalization is going to make you very happy, although you're not going to own anything. They're talking about people living in houses the size of cardboard boxes. It's all on the website. And Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is an acolyte of the WEF. Klaus Schwab loves him. This is how Klaus Schwab has said he is invading the cabinets of the world. He is inserting himself into the cabinets of the world through people like Justin Trudeau. And Justin Trudeau has addressed the WEF on many occasions. Here he is talking about how things are moving so fast. We need big government, globalist government, to manage things.
Think about it. The pace of change has never been this fast, yet it'll never be this slow again. There's enormous opportunity and enormous potential in that realization. Technology has always brought such promise. A better standard of living, new innovations, remarkable products. Consider the progression from steam power to electricity to computers. But it also brings dramatic shifts in our social, economic, and political cultures. This current step, involving automation and AI as the obvious examples, will totally revolutionize the world of work, and in many ways, it already has. As business leaders, I know that you view these as both exciting and challenging achievements. You're rightly anxious about how quickly our existing business models are being disrupted. Still, if you're anxious, imagine how the folks who aren't in this room are feeling. Workers, people who aren't seeing the benefits of economic growth, regular women and men who are trying to grab a rung on the career ladder, never mind climate. For them, technology is a benefit to their personal lives, but a threat to their jobs.
And this man is a threat to humanity. He's a threat to democracy. He's a threat to your life. There's no question about that. Do you hear him blather on? Yes, he's carting around his usual wheelbarrow full of BS, talking about the usual thing, how there's challenges. It's exciting. These changes are challenging and exciting. And he actually suggests that one of the great things on the horizon is artificial intelligence. Now, this is a scary thing on the horizon because these bots want to take over. And Elon Musk has said, let's put a halt to this before it's too late because it's out of control. You think Justin Trudeau has a grasp on this at all? No, of course not. He has a grasp on very little. But he has become a talking head for the WEF. There he is, addressing them all, addressing the elites of the world who come there to find out how the globalist agenda is going to subsume all of the national agenda around the world. And is it any wonder, do you ask yourself, why are we all doing the same things at the same time around the world? Why is Canada creating a censorship profile with internet censorship? And the latest, of course, coming up in this next session of Parliament will be the Online Safety Act, which will ban misinformation, malinformation, disinformation without even defining it first. We've talked about this many times, but we're not the only ones doing this. The UK has already passed this legislation. Australia has passed this legislation. The United States is considering this legislation. All of the democratic countries in the Western world are looking at censorship now because, it's just too dangerous to let people put what they believe and think on the web. It's too dangerous to have a free flow of ideas. We have to clamp down, says the state. Where is this coming from? The globalist agenda. Once again, that's what this is all about. And this is absolutely frightening. But this is what Justin Trudeau wants for you. This is what Justin Trudeau wants. And he can blather on about the challenges on the horizon, but he is part of creating those challenges on the horizon and making life difficult for you. Fascinating interview, and this is just a piece of it. I encourage you to watch the whole thing. because the World Health Organization, which of course is another arm of the globalist group of people who are trying to usurp authority from national governments. And that's exactly what they want to do. How did they handle COVID? Well, disastrously, of course. They acted as nothing but paladins and disciples and spokespersons for China, where the virus was created and released. That's what they did. They just basically covered up for China. And they encouraged the world to make sure everybody got the vaccine at least twice and kept getting their booster shots. They facilitated the billions of dollars in profit made by Big Pharma in this whole exercise. And this was very much a part of what the WHO, or the World Health Organization, did. I want you to listen to this fascinating interview between Tucker Carlson and Brett Weinstein, who is a frontline doctor who understands what COVID was all about and understands that the World Health Organization is not finished yet taking your rights away. They are going to create a declaration where they can usurp authority from national governments at any time during a manufactured crisis. Let's listen to Brett Weinstein talk about this.
That an international health organization could just end the First Amendment in the United States.
Yes, and in fact, as much as this sounds, I know that it sounds preposterous, but
It does not sound preposterous.
the ability to do it is currently under discussion at the international level. And it's almost impossible to exaggerate how troubling what is being discussed is. In fact, I think it is fair to say that we are in the middle of a coup, that we are actually facing the elimination of our national and our personal sovereignty, and that is the purpose of what is being constructed, that it has been written in such a way that your eyes are supposed to glaze over.
That's right.
As you attempt to sort out what is under discussion. And if you do that, then come May of this year, your nation is almost certain to sign on to an agreement that in some utterly vaguely described future circumstance, a public health emergency, which the Director General of the World Health Organization has total liberty to define in any way that he sees fit. In other words, nothing prevents climate change from being declared a public health emergency that would trigger the provisions of these modifications. And in the case that some emergency or some pretense of an emergency shows up, the provisions that would kick in are beyond jaw-dropping.
Beyond jaw-dropping. Do you want to give up your rights, your basic liberties, your constitutional rights to a globalist organization like the WEF or the World Health Organization? Of course you don't. But it's going to happen unless people are educated, unless there's enough people in Parliament to stop this. And you know, half of the MPs there don't read. They don't read the bills that they're passing. It's the same in the United States. The Congress is illiterate. Well, so many times we have omnibus bills going through the House of Commons that the members of Parliament are not even reading, they're passing, or they're approving, or they're opposing. And as long as the Liberals have this coalition with the NDP and the Bloc now to make up for times when the NDP fudges on things or is not quite there with them, these bills are going to get passed and these declarations are going to be accepted. We cannot let this stand. We will not surrender national sovereignty. We will not surrender our individual rights to any globalist organization. Any globalist organization. We need to continue to fight for our rights in this country. Why do you think we're constantly being distracted by world events? Why do you think there's people in the street every day now protesting about the war in Gaza, like they can actually affect it or change it? And I really don't care what side of it you're on. But if you're out there more worried about what's happening in the Middle East than you are about what's happening in your own backyard, about the rights that are going to be taken away from you in your country, then there's something wrong with the way your thought process are going. Because we can't affect anything about this war in Gaza. We can stop sending billions of dollars to Ukraine, and we can stop fomenting conflict around the world if our members of parliament have the backbone to say no. But what we can most do is affect policy domestically, like we were doing before these global distractions came on our way. We have to unify people of all faiths, people who are concerned about the rights of parents and about families, and who want to get the state out of their life. We have to unify and get together and stop being distracted by global events. Because while we're fighting about what's happening around the world, the WEF and the WHO is coming into Canada, into the United States, into other Western democracies, and scooping up the rights we used to have while we're looking elsewhere. So we've got to be focused on this declaration from the World Health Organization. We've got to be very worried about it. I'm going to be dealing with this Davos meeting throughout the week on Stand on Guard. Do I think the WEF is important? Yes, you damn right I do. Because the decisions that are being made there affect our country, all Western democracies, and you as individuals. These decisions are important. Now, what did Pierre Poilievre do on the weekend? Actually, I've got to say, he got out in the cold while Justin Trudeau was looking for another warm place to stay, and just back from his kingly stay in Jamaica at no cost to him because he stayed with a good friend of the Trudeau family, $9,300 a night in Jamaica. He's off to Australia soon, but Justin Trudeau's not out talking to people in the cold. Here's what Poilievre said, and I'm going to talk about why I think this is significant in a minute.
Thank you, everyone, for being here today. It gets cold in Thunder Bay, doesn't it? Justin Trudeau thinks that the solution is to tax your home heating bill. You know, after 8 years of Trudeau, everything costs more. Work doesn't pay, housing costs have doubled. Crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder are now common in our streets. Justin Trudeau is not worth the cost. In fact, food bank use is at a record level as more and more people struggle with the higher cost of food that results from his carbon tax on the farmers who make the food and the truckers who ship the food. More and more young people can't afford a home. Homeless encampments are present right across the country in places that never had them before, which has led to drugs, just depression, and now they want to bring in medical assistance in dying for people whose only illness is depression. This is life after 8 years of Justin Trudeau. And now he's got a carbon tax on your home heat. Now, because of his Atlantic Canadian MPs rose up in protest, he brought in a pause, but only for some people in some regions where his poll numbers were plummeting and his caucus was revolting. But I believe that every single Canadian family needs to be able to heat their home. And so I launched a campaign to take the tax off and keep the heat on. I put a motion before the House of Commons to say that people in Thunder Bay should have tax-free heat as well. And guess what? Patty Hajdu voted against the people of Thunder Bay. Marcus Pawlowski, he voted against the people of Thunder Bay. They voted to increase taxes on home heat for the struggling people and families in this community.
Pause for a second. He said in freeze. I think that was a Freudian slip because that's exactly what's happening. We are in the midst. I mean, he says it's cold in Thunder Bay. Well, it's even colder right now in Alberta. I don't know if you're listening to this broadcast in Alberta. My mother-in-law and father-in-law are. It's freezing there beyond belief. They got like a wind chill of -50 right now, and the electricity grid can't sustain it. And what is our environment and climate change minister famous for? Saying Alberta's going to have to stop using fossil fuels, and they're going to have to rely on hydroelectricity, which they cannot create. And if they don't, we're going to shut the power. we're going to shut the lights up. They're going to go and freeze. And that's exactly what the future holds. If we go down this insane road of Trudeau's environmental policies that are going to have Canadians freeze and ultimately starve as well. I like the way Poilievre continues to go after the carbon tax because it's killing us, but it's not just the individual tax by itself. It represents the entire assault by the Trudeau government on our individual rights and on our ability as citizens to keep our homes warm in the winter, to keep our fridges full of food, to be able to drive our cars, to be able to live like ordinary human beings. The carbon tax represents Trudeau's assault on all of those things. And I'm glad Pierre Poilievre is reminding people of that in this speech. Anytime he says something I agree with, I'm going to applaud it. I don't agree with him on Ukraine. I don't agree with him that we should continue to give billions to Ukraine, but he's right on with the carbon tax. And he's telling people, you're cold for a reason, because it's difficult to heat your homes right now. And let's listen to the end of this.
That's why I'm here today, to redouble my campaign to axe the tax. And there you see the sign right over there. That's the choice. That's the choice in the carbon tax election. Either it will be Pierre Poilievre and the common sense conservatives who will axe the tax, or Justin Trudeau, Patty Hajdu, and Podlowski who will hike the tax on your heat, your gas, and your groceries. That is the choice in the next election. Either you will have a costly coalition of the Liberals and NDP who tax your food, punish your work, take your money, and try to ban your hunting rifle while unleashing crime and chaos in your community, or a common sense conservative government led by Pierre Poilievre that will axe the tax, reward your work, punish criminals while respecting law-abiding hunters and sport shooters. That is the choice. You know what choice you're going to make? Yeah. We're going to vote for common sense conservatives who will axe the tax, and we invite all the people of Northern Ontario, of all the country, to join together in this common sense message. Happy New Year, everyone. May 2024 be a year of common sense and low taxes. Thank you.
All right. That's not a paid political announcement. I think what he's saying is important because we need the next election to be about common sense versus woke. I've written about that in an Epoch Times article I wrote last month, saying that the two solitudes in Canada are not just or aren't about French and English anymore. That's so passé. That's so yesterday. The two solitudes in this country are those who believe in common sense values. That includes conservatives, small c conservatives, large c conservatives, and libertarians, and people who vote for the People's Party of Canada. We need to all band together against the wokes, the crazies, the extremists who are pushing radical environmental and social and economic policies down our throat that are strangling our livelihoods, that are killing jobs, that are destroying Canada as we used to know it. It's already half gone. 2 more years of Justin Trudeau, or a year and a half, can only lead to further catastrophe. We need to convince MPs in the opposition ranks that they cannot support Trudeau's policies and this Liberal government any longer. Because we are basically defenseless in this country. And I've said many times, I believe Justin Trudeau could well declare his own emergency in Canada. He's already invoked the Emergencies Act when there was no emergency. He could invoke the Emergencies Act again, or he could say there's such a crisis in this country. There's such an emergency. We need the globalists to intervene. I'm reaching out to the WHO. I'm reaching out to those globalists who can help us and help you. That's how he's going to put it. And guess what? We have to delay the election just a bit because it's not safe to have one right now. And by that time, he's going to have his censorship legislation in place. He's going to make sure we can't communicate on the internet in a free way. He wants to stop broadcasts like this one and others. He wants to destroy the new media. He only wants left the media he's bought off and the state media of CBC. That's the only thing he wants left. And don't put it past Justin Trudeau, the authoritarian, the blackface hypocrite who calls everybody he doesn't agree with a racist, a misogynist, and sometimes even a Nazi, even though he's the one that invited the Nazi to the House of Commons to have 2 standing ovations. Gotta say it, folks. Got to remember, got to remind people that Justin Trudeau's the one. And did you hear Chrystia Freeland recently saying Canada can accommodate as many immigrants as possible because we have the right social fabric? What the hell does that mean? We're nice people, so we can just have unlimited immigration? We're just so friendly and polite? Keep them coming in? Keep mass migration going because we're just lovely people in Canada, and we don't care if there's a housing crisis created. We don't care if they don't have jobs when they get here. That's okay because we're just nice people. That's Chrystia Freeland. She's the same one that Rebel News tried to politely confront with a question about recognizing a terrorist group. And that person was arrested. Freeland said she had nothing to do with it. I don't buy that. I don't believe that. I don't think that RCMP security guard would have acted if he didn't think he had her consent. I think she was behind it. Remember, her grandfather was a Nazi propagandist in Poland during the Second World War. So we're going to be talking about this issue throughout the week. Stay tuned to Stand on Guard. Stay tuned to what's happening. Don't let the mainstream media distract you from what's really important. What's important? Your freedom, your liberty, and making sure Justin Trudeau doesn't take any more of it away from you. Thanks for watching today. My name's David Krayden, and this has been Stand on Guard.